Hello everyone, this is the start of a new module or chapter on percentages. So if you look at lesson 1 in your workbook, that's page S.1, there's an opening exercise. Please pause the video, do the opening exercise, both this page and this part right here, and then replay the video and we'll go over it. But please try those two on your own first. Okay, so each of these is a description of a type of number. So what I'm going to share with you is just the answer and then how you may have gotten that. So the first one, I am half of a half, 5 cubic inches of water filled in a 20 cubic inch bottle. So half of half itself is 50%, and half of that is 25%. First two match. The next one is I am less than 1/100th. 25 out of 5,000 contestants. So less than 1/100th is going to be less than 1%. I'm looking for one that's less than a percent. This is the only one here that's less than a percent. Next one, I am the chance of birthing a boy or a girl. Flip a coin, it will land on heads or tails. That's half and half, so that's 50. I am less than a half, but more than 1/4. So less than 1/2 and more than 1/4, 15 out of 50. So I'm looking for something that's less than 50% and more than 25%. So that would be 30. I'm equal to 1. That's 100%. 100% is a full 1. I am more than 1. So I'm looking for more than 100%. That's 300. And I am a tenth of a tenth. So 1/10 times 1/10, 1/100th, that's 1%. Remember, percents are always out of 100. And lastly, I am less than a fourth, so less than 25%, but more than 100th, which is 1%. And 11 out of 110, so that's 10%. Okay, next one. When you are filling in, remember percents are always out of 100. These are just examples of fractions out of 100. 30 over 100 is 3 full columns. If you did rows instead, that's fine. 3/100ths and 1/3 of a 100th, just a little itty bitty less than half a box. Okay, so now we're going to practice converting percents to fractions to decimals. Again, if you know how to do this, please run forward and do this on your own, and then you have time to go do Khan Academy. If you need some review, that's what this time is for. So example 1, use the definition of the word percent. Per meaning each, cent meaning 100, so each 100, to write each percent as a fraction and then as a decimal. So every time you have a percent, it is always over 100. So our fraction for the first one is 37.5 over 100, or multiply both of those by 10, and you get 375 over 1,000. 100 over 100, that's just equal to a giant 1. 110 over 100, that's equal to 11 over 10, or 1 and 1/10. 1 over 100, can't reduce that. 1/2 over 100, 1/2 is the same as 0.5. If we multiply that by a giant 1 of 10, we get 5 over 1,000. So anytime you have a decimal percent, you're generally going to have to go into the thousands or 10,000s. So once we have these in tens, hundreds, or thousands, we can write them as decimals. 375 thousandths, 0.375, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. 1 whole, just 1.0 or just 1. 11/10ths, or 1 whole and 1/10, 1 100th, and 5 thousandths. Okay. If you have further questions on this, please raise your hand and ask me in person. Yeah. So, example 2, now we're not just starting with percents, but we're flowing between all 3 forms. So you can start anywhere you want. Again, please try this by yourself, and then you can unpause and do this together. I'm going to start at the top. So 350%. So to move, and I'm also going to use this space below, and we're going to do notes on moving between all 3 of them. So percent to decimal, like 350%, you're going to move the decimal point 2 spaces. So it becomes 1, 2, 3.5, or 350. Okay, and just to stay in the same realm, I'm going to do this decimal to a percent. For example, 0.025, we're going to move the decimal point 2 spaces the other direction. So we have 0.025, 1, 2, 2.5%. Okay, and now let's do fraction to decimal. So you can either, for example, 1/8, you can either make equivalent fractions to get to 10,000, 100, or divide the numerator by the denominator. Since I don't have an easy way of getting 8 to be 10, 100, or 1,000, I'm going to divide. So 1 divided by 8, 8 goes into 10 once, 16, and I get 0.125. Okay, and then I have another decimal, so decimal to percent. I'm moving the decimal 2 places, 1, 2, and I get 12.5%. Last one is I have all these decimals to turn into fractions. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically read the number and see what it tells me. So this is 3 5/10. So I'm going to write 3, and then I'm going to write 5/10. Can I reduce 5/10? Yes, I can. That's 3.5. So I'm going to do that for the next one as well. This is 25 tenths, hundredths. This is 25 thousandths. So 25 over 1,000. Can I reduce that? Certainly I can reduce that. I'm going to reduce it down here. 25 over 1,000. You can divide by 25. You can divide by 5. And I get 1 over 40. Is this correct? Yes, this is correct. If you need to reduce it, you can reduce it. Okay. You will see that there is a game, an exercise on the other side. We're not doing that right now. This is going to be a pretty short lesson. So you have the rest of the period to, 1, do your exit ticket, and 2, do Khan Academy or go back and finish any other lessons that you hadn't finished before. Awesome.